Hey guys, welcome back to part 3 of the Volks Plastic IMS Night of Gold kit build. In this video I'm going to be working on the legs. There's quite a few parts, some of which are movable parts. The knee and ankle joints, for example. But it's a pretty straightforward step. So let's get started. So just a note that most of the parts in this section are going to be built in sets. There are a few that are directional, which is a left and a right side, but for the most part it's just the same for both. For the first step, the manual tells you to cut this piece. It has kind of a long end on it, but it wants you to cut the tip of it off. I'm guessing it's a reused part from the LED Mirage, but apparently it doesn't need that end for the Night of Gold. I'm going kind of slow here because I double and triple checked it. So once you cut it, it's harder to put back together if you messed up. For this next part, I used Google Translate and it says it's a movable part, and to just be aware of the direction of the Polycap. So you can see it has kind of a pointy end. The Polycap will really only go in one way, so really not much of a way to screw this one up. The Polycap in the ankle was keeping the two halves from joining. So while the cement is setting, I'm going to clamp the parts together using wooden clothespins. But when I clamped one side, the other side popped out from the force of it, so I'm going to use one on each end. This is one of the sections where it tells you to be careful of the direction. This is a left and a right side. front of the thigh armor looks very similar for both sides, but you can tell there's a slight curve that differentiates the left and right. I had applied Tamiya Panaline wash off camera, and here I'm just removing the excess. This is the top of the leg frame. It fits inside of the thigh armor. You have to glue it in place. This is also going to be a seam that will need to be filled, but I was able to use the cement squeezing technique. Didn't have to use any putty. These are all the leg armor parts ready to paint. But at this point, I decided to cut the rest of the parts out from this step so that I could paint them all at once. When I got to the heel part, I noticed a problem. Basically, it's not lining up properly. You can see the top there, it's pretty off in the lines. I checked both sides and they're the same. I also checked the manual just to make sure I was assembling it properly, which I was. It could just be a pre-production issue, since this is a pre-production kit, but either way, it's a pretty easy fix. Just clip off the posts, cement the parts together, and line it up visually. To fill those gaps, I'm going to be using light curing putty from Tamiya. Some parts don't have anything for the clips to grip, so I'm just using sticks and holes and blue tack for the other parts. Now there are a few red parts that need to be painted. For some of it I'm going to use masking, and for the ankle armor I'm going to paint with a brush. The grooves on these leg pieces are pretty deep, so it's pretty easy to use as a guide with a fresh X-Acto blade. For these I'm going to spray a few light coats. If I do a wet coat, there's a possibility that it will bleed underneath the tape. So the light coats will help avoid that situation. here, so I'm just going to skip ahead. You might notice I'm removing the panel line wash with an old t-shirt this time. The reason for that is because the Q-tips will sometimes shred on sharp edges and leave little pieces of cotton. I filmed myself cementing these parts that are movable, but the video got messed up. But it's pretty simple. When it came time to put the ankle ball joint in, it took a lot of effort, like way more than it should have. You can see me struggling here. I actually thought I was going to break the part, but it turned out okay. And they're pretty solid when it's standing. For these inside armor parts on the ankle, the front section is the same for both, but the left and right sides only fit a certain way. When assembling the legs to tell the right from left, there's a little line on the shin piece of the frame, and that represents the outside, which would make this the right leg. You'll need to know this for the armor parts. For the thigh armor, you can tell by that round part that it's the outside. This part fit pretty firmly, so I didn't glue it, but also because I didn't want to risk getting cement on any of these painted parts. The shin armor, you can tell which side is inside and out by those notches at the bottom. The one with 2 notches is the inside, the 1 notch is the outside. The armor pieces don't fit tightly, so you have to cement them, which means if you want to show off the frame, you're going to have to modify it, maybe with magnets or some other similar way. So even after painting all the frame, most of it's not even going to show. For the ankle armor, you can tell the left and right sides apart by this little red spot. Whichever side it's on will be closer to the inside. It clips on pretty easily to these two posts. Foot armor is actually directional. It has kind of an angle so that it can stand in a specific pose. Now all that's left is to attach the legs to the body. And there it is, the Knight of Gold can stand now. So that concludes the legs step. The next step will be the arms. If you enjoyed this video and want to keep watching, please subscribe to my channel. And once again, thanks for watching.